Hello BikeMatters fans, welcome back to the studio, and today we're going to be looking at an offering from FB Mondial. So it's Italian design, Chinese built. It's the HPS 125 Ubbiali. So a little disclaimer before we begin the video. This bike came to me with 7 miles on the clock. It's still taking its baby steps. It's not quite walking yet. It's being run in still. So when I talk about things like fuel economy and top speed, it might not be quite in line with what FB Mondial have on their website. I'm going to give the most honest review I can, bearing in mind the condition this bike came to me in. The Ubbiali is powered by a 125cc liquid-cooled single-cylinder engine. It puts out 13.4 horsepower at 9,750 RPM and 10 Nm of torque at 8,000 RPM. Now, it's got a 6-speed gearbox, which is quite great. You know, the gears themselves, they're really well spread out. They're not very short, which is surprising for a 125. You know, often with 125s, I find that the gearing is incredibly short, hardly touching first gear. But with this, the gears, they're quite long, which I'm a big fan of. The gear changes themselves, they actually sound quite clunky, but they do not feel that way at all. It's incredibly precise, no false neutrals or anything like that. I'm really impressed. So in terms of top speed, I got 67 miles per hour out of it, but it was very vibey at that top end. So I think for everyday top speed, you're probably going to be looking at sort of 60 to 65 miles per hour to be sitting comfortably. When it came to acceleration, up to 45 miles an hour, it's a very sprightly machine, but between 45 and 60 miles an hour, things do start to slow down. You kind of lack that top end pull-in power. So when it comes to overtaking on dual carriageways and things like that, it's going to be quite calculated. You're going to have to really think about it and build up your speed, but it is capable of those dual carriageway speeds if that's part of your commute and if you want to go there. So as you guys can see, we've got that twin shotgun exhaust down there. It looks amazing, looks fantastic. It's really, really nice. It works really well with the rest of the bike, but unfortunately, it just doesn't quite sound as good as it looks. It still sounds good, but definitely not as good as it looks. So one final note about the engine is that it absolutely hates the lower RPMs. You really have to rev the pants off it to get it to go anywhere and to not stall at low speeds. This could just be a compression issue, you know, it's still in its running in phases, but it does affect your fuel economy. Silver lining might be that it makes for a more engaging ride. It's not the end of the world, but it's just something of note. So on to looks now, and this bike really speaks for itself. It's gorgeous. This is a special edition. With loads of attention to finer details. We've got it here in the blue and silver colorway with gold accents used on Carlo Ubbiali's 1951 Grand Prix winning model, and neo-retro features just run through this bike from head to tail lights. You know, we've got this great headlight up front, we've got these bar end mirrors, the belly pan down there which looks fantastic, the diamond quilted premium seat, the twin shotgun exhaust. Just so many cool little independent features that all come together to create a real head turner. There's nothing like this in the 125cc category at the moment. It's so unique, and we here at BikeMatters are massive fans, as I'm sure you guys at home are too. Up front, we're running a single wavy disc with a 2-piston caliper, and to the rear, running a single wavy disc with a single piston caliper. Now, this bike does benefit from ABS, which is really nice to see from these Chinese built offerings. It's kind of that safety net that it gives you in your early days of riding when you're not going to lock up the wheels, you know, with the inevitable panic braking. I wish I had that when I started riding. The biting point's sort of halfway in on those levers, front and back. And once you get to that point, you can give it that extra squeeze and kick in the ABS, which does help and bring you to a swifter stop. When it comes to looking at other ABS 125 models I've ridden in recent times, these don't quite hold up to the same standard. Not too impressed with braking here. We're rocking these gorgeous gold forks up front with a healthy 97mm travel, and to the rear we've got these classic style twin shocks with golden reservoirs, which I think is a nice touch. Now, the ride itself is quite firm, by no means bone breaking, but it's not at all plush. However, I'm a massive fan of this. I really think it adds to the classic racer feel. This thing is more than happy to be thrown down the country lanes, pinning that throttle. And whether you're sore or not, you're going to have a massive smile on your face. So I'm a big fan of this factor. I'm really happy with the suspension setup here. we're running an 18-inch wheel to the front and a 17-inch wheel to the back, both spoked, which is a really nice touch. Now, interestingly, Mondial claimed to have a 130 on the back. When I saw this, it's a 140. I knew it was 140, and I checked, and it is a 140, and that's only a good thing. This bike feels really planted on the road, you know, corners, things like that. You grip it really well, and the dimensions here, I think they're just perfect, going for that classic racer type feel, and it feels like a big bike. So overall, I'm really happy with the tyres and wheels here. Weighing in at 137 kilograms with a full tank, this is a relatively lightweight machine, and with those 13.4 horses power in it, it's got a decent power to weight ratio. It's sprightly. Now, at low speeds and things like that, it handles exceptionally well, and when it comes to manual handling, there's no issues whatsoever, especially with these lovely wide bars. You've got good control. I think this is going to be an accessible machine when it comes to weight. When it comes to the seat, we've got this handsome blue diamond quilted seat, and it measures in at 785 millimeters. Now, I'm 6 foot and I got along with this bike really well. You know, the positions of the foot pegs and these lovely wide bars, it does put you in a sportier riding position, but it's by no means uncomfortable. I ride sports bikes, so I'm quite happy, so it might be an issue for some people, but ultimately tall people, definitely have a sit on one of these before you buy it. Whereas if you go to the other end of the spectrum, Brett's 5'6", and he got along with this really well. You know, he's able to flat foot it, and he found it quite comfortable, again, in that sportier position, but by no means back breaking. Now, we're quite happy with the seat height here, but what we're not happy with is the seat. After about an hour, things did get very sore down there, and I must say, I kept having to take regular breaks. But ultimately, this is a 125. No one's going to be touring on this, and they're not going to be doing long commutes to work and stuff like that. But not the end of the world, just something of note. Looks amazing, doesn't feel amazing. For fueling, we've got a 9-litre tank here, which is quite average for the 125cc class. Now, Mondial claim around 80 miles to the gallon on their website, but I got nowhere near that, much closer to 40 miles to the gallon. That's going to be for two reasons. One, it's quite a revvy bike, but two, it's still in its running in phases, so it does get the benefit of the doubt. I think in the real world, probably going to see about 150 miles to 180 miles on a full tank, which is pretty good. So I'm quite happy with this tank size and real world fuel economy. Now, I just wanted to take a minute to give a shout out to Lexham Insurance. Lexham Insurance will power us here at Bike Matters. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be able to bring you guys the content that we do. They're also doing us a pretty sweet deal. If you click the link in the top right hand corner of the screen now, you can get up to £20 deducted from your insurance premium. We get to keep making videos, you guys get a discount, everybody's happy. So on to tech now, and other than ABS and sequential indicators, there isn't any. The switchgear is also really basic here, which is a massive shame, missing out on things like a dipper switch and hazard lights. And in this new era of 125s, I really feel like full safety switchgear should be there as standard. And with these sequential indicators, I feel like they've just missed the mark by not having hazard lights, but it is what it is. Bizarrely, atop this lack of tech and basic switchgear setup, we've got a full colour TFT display, which is a great thing, and it does look amazing. It's got some great features there. We've got a speedo, a rev counter, gear indicator, temperature gauge, fuel gauge, an odometer, a voltage meter, and a clock. It also has adaptive lighting and a dual design. So basically, when you're riding at night, you've got a black background with white text to make sure it's clear and nice, and during the day you've got a white background with black text. And it is really a great display, but it just feels kind of wildly out of place on this neo-retro machine. The Ubbiali comes in at £4,199 plus on the road fees. Now this price line sort of puts it between the Chinese budget offerings and the Japanese market dominating Big Four. You get the undeniable Italian design, good performance specs and ergonomics, but it's running that Chinese built engine and chassis. I can't tell you how long one of these will last on the UK roads or what the resale value will be, but time ultimately will tell. Now, for 300 quid more, you could pick up a Honda CB125R, which is a great bike, and for £700 more, you could pick up the class-leading Yamaha XSR 125. However, I feel like some people might go for this one based on looks alone. It is an incredibly uniquely styled bike. There's nothing like this on the road, and I do feel like if you look after this bike, it will look after you. So in summary, this is an incredibly unique bike and it does look fantastic. This colorway is gorgeous and all these fine details, the seat, the twin shotgun exhaust, the belly pan, the gold accents, the bar end mirrors, they add up to create one of the best looking 125s out there on the road today. It has a decent spec when it comes to performance, by no means the best, but full head and shoulders above a lot of the budget offerings from China. but that does come at a price. £4,199 is a lot of money in today's market, and when you think you could get a Honda for only a few £100 more, it does put things into perspective. However, I know for a lot of people, they're going to see this bike, its character, and they're going to know it's exactly what they want from a 125. So that brings my review on the Ubbiali to an end. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, be sure to give us a like. If you've got any thoughts or comments about this bike, put it in the comment section down below. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you won't miss another video. I'll catch you in the next one.